and this is a spiritual discussion program. I'm just getting an echo. Hold. Make sure we are not. Okay. An echo. Apologies, listen. Make sure we are not repeating ourselves. Gregory, can I just check with you? Can you hear us echoing?
Yes.
Okay, I need to close one of them. I don't know why. Okay, hopefully we are now on live. Yes, is it okay now, Gregory?
Yes.
Good. Apologies, listeners, there was a bit of echo there. This is, as I said, the spiritual discussion program, listeners, is 6 p.m. on Tuesday evening in UK time. I'm Saad in southeast London. The weather right now, it's overcast. It's been quite warm and nice, and you could say. And as usual, Gregory, you're joining me. How is the weather where you are?
Just like you have in London.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, dear listeners, the aim of this show, the spiritual discussion program, is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. And we always have a new topic for discussion every week. The topic for tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. Our destiny lies in our hands. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message, in the light of truth, by Abdrushin, is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, I just want to remind you the topic we're discussing tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. Our destiny lies in our hands. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Now, listeners, I'm sure you're aware in the news currently, there is some massive floods in Pakistan. They've had a very heavy monsoon rains, which normally the season starts in June, but it's been very heavy. Somehow it hasn't hit the headlines till now, but apparently the rain has been falling 9 or 10 times more than the normal. And earlier in the year, the temperatures had even reached greater than 50 degrees. And with this flooding, they say 33 million people are affected. I think a third of the population, or more than, I'm not quite sure exact proportion that is, but it's a massive number, 33 million people affected. You know, mostly it looks like in rural areas. The UN has just made appeal to provide 5 million people with food, water, sanitation, and emergency, help and support. And Gregory, another thing interesting that I found out is that, probably it's not a big surprise, but they said Pakistan produces only 1% of the global greenhouse gases emissions, but it's one of the top 10 countries which is vulnerable to the effects of climate change, which is what they're blaming these heavy rains for. So, it's very, how can I say, something we can examine with our topic of our destiny lies in our hands. So, Gregory, before we go and explore that, I like to always look in our topic title and, look at the definition of the words in the title. And the main word, just to repeat the topic tonight is, listeners, our destiny lies in our hands. And the key word really there is destiny, or the meaning that I want to check in the dictionary at least. So I looked that up in the dictionary, Gregory, and that the word destiny, and it says the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future. And the example they give is, she was unable to control her own destiny. Now, Yeah, I mean, there's more to in the definition, but I just want to stop there. So I'll repeat that, Gregory. It says the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future. So again, Gregory, is that definition of destiny a good definition for our discussion?
The key there lies in the expression in the future. Is there any personality who can predict precisely what events will happen in the next hour, in the next day, in the next month? So you find that it is very challenging. Therefore, to start talking about the future without considering the present, without considering the decisions which have been made in the present, that gives a picture which is nebulous, which makes it difficult for many to understand. The future, the events of the future are only based on the decisions we ourselves have made in the present.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. When you were speaking there about the decisions made in the present, I immediately thought about what about the past? So isn't there any impact from decisions of the past as well in the future, having an impact in the future?
Well, that was only the opening.
Right.
The events in the past can also be influenced by the decisions which we make right now. So, be it in the past or in the future, the decisions we make right now through first our intuition, through our thoughts, and also through our physical activity, those things, those decisions which you have made color the past and the future.
Right. So, there's so many questions. This word destiny, so many pictures are conjured up in our mind when we think of this word destiny. Now, you said it's the future is affected by the decision of the present. So that's, that makes sense, you can say. Now, is it only, Gregory, the decision of because we've talked, the topic tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. So the
Yes.
Immediate question comes, go on.
Yeah. What that expression, our destiny lies in our hands, is simply euphemism. It's a figure of speech, which means basically where we are going, where we have decided to go, is dependent on our intuitive decisions, on our thought decisions, and also on our physical activity here. So the key there is decisions or choices.
Right.
If a person decides to travel from London, say, to Paris, that person might decide to take a flight. That person might decide to take the train. That person might decide to drive. When the person decides to drive, it's only natural that all the activities that lie in the path of the road, he is likely to experience or to see. It means, therefore, he will go through, drive through the road, get to the channel tunnel, might decide to take the boat, or might decide to take the train. All right? And when he gets over, might decide, okay, fair enough, I'm going to, instead of driving, I might also drive into a coach, or into the train to take me to Paris, or I might drive directly. Same thing goes with the person who takes the train. Same, when it comes to the flight, the person will have to go to the airport and take a flight. But as is well known, you can never predict what will happen when the plane is in the air. People might decide to go on strike. They might just decide, okay, let's just go on strike. However, the human personality made the choice, made the decision to travel to a particular destination. So the experiences which lie in that path, the human personality will have to at least taste of it.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this answer, because you're bringing in, let's say, we have to become aware that there can be some other factors. Yes, we made a decision and a choice, and that one we control it, and then there's a potential for other factors to have an effect on that decision, so which we certainly cannot forget that. So in fact, Gregory, going back, I mentioned, I looked in the dictionary, the meaning of destiny. There's another meaning given here. It says, this is the meaning of destiny: the hidden power believed to control future events, fate. And the example they give here, he believed in destiny. So Gregory, what about this part of the definition? The hidden power believed to control future events.
Out of the question, because what they have not taken into consideration is the decision. However, you should be very clear that within nature, within creation, there are the laws of nature, all the laws of creation, which help to shape or to bring to reality that which the human personality has decided. So when it comes to the operations, you will find that through these laws of nature, the human personality also came into existence. And in its operations or in its decision, it will find that once it has decided, these same laws help to bring some of these decisions to reality.
Thanks so much, Gregory, for this answer and the picture you painted there, because I've got another thing to add now. We have heard of this concept karma. So again, Gregory, I decided to look it up in the dictionary. What is karma? The meaning of karma. And it's an expression used in Hinduism and Buddhism. And they say that the dictionary meaning is given: the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. So, and this is a word that we can equate with destiny. So or at least it has some places it is used in that way. So let me repeat that, Gregory. The meaning of karma, it says, the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. So can you say anything on that, Gregory?
Well, it is quite remarkable that many or some religions or some teachings consider karma in that particular light. For many, when karma is mentioned, it is ill luck that is considered. It is very rare to hear when somebody has, in quotes, won the lottery, it is referred to as his karma. And when somebody is well in health, it is referred to as his or her karma. However, once there is something which is distasteful, then many remember that there exists karma. What is referred to as karma is only a partial understanding of the law in nature, in creation, of the law of reciprocal activities. And it stems from when the human personality first intuitively or in thoughts or in physical activities, when it sets into motion a particular decision. Once that decision has been initiated, then within the operations of the laws of nature, of the laws of creation, that which it has initiated in creation will have to grow. It will mature. And it gets to a certain extent where that which was internal, which was intrinsic in that particular activity, is returned to it to taste of that which he himself or herself has initiated. Just as when the farmer goes to the farm and plants wheat or plants maize, it is maize that is returned, and it is not mango that is returned. So what is referred to as karma is only a partial interpretation of that law, which is foundation to creation, to nature, that law which is referred to as the law of reciprocal activity.
Thank you, Gregory, for this answer and picture again. The way we've been, well, I won't say we're talking in general at the moment, and when we see this picture of destiny, let's say, and refer it to life of just the one individual, then yes, and you mentioned already making a decision to travel, let's say to Paris, London to Paris, let's say, and there are various options for that. But there's certain things you can expect to see on that journey when you pick a particular option. So what I'm pointing to, Gregory, is that it's quite clear picture when you're having one individual sort of making a decision. And then you mentioned, of course, that if you're flying, there could be a strike with the, whoever is striking having an impact on the flight. Maybe there's no flight because the pilots are striking or some other thing like that. So there's another factor there, even though you made a decision you want to fly. So we can see how our destiny can be changed with others' decisions as well. Now,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
One may say that which drives the fulfillment of the decision, there could be some perturbation along the line. That perturbation may make the individual to alter the decisions. Because what then happens is that there are challenges, continuous challenges. The individual will have to say, I hold costs, or I need to make changes in order to realize that which I myself wish to accomplish. So that is also part of what the individual has to deal with. There must be the concept of, flexibility rather than holding on in one direction without reviewing what the returns are. For if the example which had been given, the personality gets to the Channel Tunnel, they could also be on strike. So these are the things which the individual is unable to predict. All these are what one may refer to as challenges. As the challenges come, which had not been prepared for, the individual should be flexible in their intuitions, in their thoughts, and in their physical activities, not forgetting the final noble destinations they have set themselves. It is flexibility and humility that enables the personality to arrive at that goal, which goal is basically to come to greater or to self-consciousness in the final, analysis.
Thank you for that again, Gregory. It just shows, like you said before already about the laws of nature. You can't not. Yes, you make a decision, but it's happening, as you've said in the past, in a particular framework, and the framework here would be the laws of nature, and this world that we're living in. So you can only do things within that framework. So so all these factors, you can say, must be considered or thought of, when we whatever decisions we are making, and then trying to understand what's happening for our destiny to manifest. Those other factors must be also we must be aware of them as well. So we will explore that more in a moment. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00 44 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day. Again, go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Our Destiny Lies in Our Hands. So, and of course you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO .fm / Bless Radio 1, the number 1. Now, Gregory, we've been looking at, how you can say the destiny works. And we started with a sort of a case of individual person, making a decision as an example. But obviously we live on this earth and or even in the beyond, there are many of human beings, and obviously each one makes their own decision and then it all interacts together somehow, as we know. So you can see just even with one person how things can change. As you say, you need to be flexible. Other factors can come in. But now we're talking about the, many numbers of human beings that can be involved, interacting with other human beings. So let's start with, Gregory, this thing, what I mentioned at the beginning of the show about what's happening in Pakistan right now. Millions and millions of people, being devastated by flooding and losing their possessions and so on. And you wonder, what have they done if it is made by the destiny or fate is through the decisions of man? And we know there's things can get intervened as well, but we try to look at it and see how is it happening. And let's say people have talked about climate change, but let me ask you, Gregory, is it possible with this type of situation, with many people involved, millions in this case, can we really work out how is this destiny happening for those such people in this situation?
Again, in scenarios like this, the perception seems to be so narrowed at one happening. Whereas when, in quotes, destiny is mentioned, it's like one is traveling along a path, which path will now lead one to an end point or an intermediate point. And in traveling along such a path, many challenges then occur. Like one said, you could be in the air, in flight, albeit a very short flight, and all of a sudden you hear that, oh, there is strike. There is strike, and therefore the plane cannot land. That itself is a challenge. Just as we have challenges in the scenario one just painted, so also you have challenges in an earth life. In an earth life, there is the incarnation of the personality in taking on the human form in order to experience along the path it has chosen, even before it incarnated. Of course, the person who has chosen to incarnate in a particular place most likely does not have an overview of what is likely completely to happen to it. However, it is determined during the earth life, during this journey, still to make decisions, which decisions will be based on modesty, on humility, on compassion, on vigilance and alertness. And it is these virtues which the human personality needs to cultivate. It needs to cultivate these virtues pending or as it goes along with the challenges that it comes across on its path. So, like the case you mentioned at the beginning, where there's a talk of climate change, where there is the rain here and there. Never ever forget, a country, for example, like Holland, they live below the sea level. And years ago, most of the time, during high tides, many people were taken and many people died. But they then resolved to build dikes, and they worked on it diligently and built all these dikes along the line and found ways to pump water away from that which they have recovered. Now, Holland or the Netherlands is able to do something and contribute to the world economy. So, just as they themselves had to find a way to overcome these challenges, so also challenges that accompany the human personality through its flexibility, through its courage, through its diligence and modesty, through its faithfulness, it's able to resolve to overcome these challenges.
Thank you so much for that picture and answer, Gregory. What is clearly what you're pointing to is that, yes, challenges will come and we have to prepare, to adapt ourselves and work with the situation and, to sort of, to move forward with that, rather than, let's say, despair, you could say, that, oh, this disaster is happening and what can we do now? Because yes, this is the moment in time right now, what is happening. However, when you look at the bigger picture or the long-term picture, because climate change didn't come yesterday or today, it has been there for a while. And of course, if you don't prepare, what do you expect? Disasters will happen. And I know I was hearing they know about climate change, but they didn't expect such a how can I say, a big impact as and now it's happening so quickly as well, Gregory, as you know, as we are seeing in the news. It's not only here. I mean, in Pakistan, this is just the current one. We hear, basically every week somewhere these things are happening. Some sort of effect of the climate change is happening, and some are more severely, affecting than others, but it's still having a serious effect. So thank you for that. Now, in a way, Gregory, you have sort of answered this question. Can we change our fate? Or by what means can we change our fate? So maybe, Gregory, you can look at that in a way, if I can ask you to look at that. Just maybe first, Gregory, you can look at it. Can we change our fate in the short term, or is it only the long term?
At the beginning of this discussion, there was the mention of what the human personality resolves to do in the present. So what had been sown in the past, before long or before too long, the reciprocal activities are bound to come. And when these reciprocal activities come, it then depends on how we ourselves, through our response to these reciprocal activities, that then depends on our inner maturity, how we respond. Therefore, it is possible again and again to make a change to the decisions which the human spirit makes. If it focuses on that which is upbuilding, if it focuses on that which is humble, on that which will lead to vigilance and alertness, and applies itself to it, it would have molded his immediate environment such that when these reciprocal activities come, if these reciprocal activities are ennobling, then combined with that which he himself is striving for ennoblement, he will then rise inwardly. If, however, the reciprocal activities are ignoble, when they arrive, now he is in a scenario where he is unable to resonate with these ignoble activities. And therefore, he might pass through the challenges which are around, but he does not share in it. These challenges do not have any strong impact on him or any impact at all.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory.
Oh,
sorry. Oh, I thought you finished. I'm sorry. Okay, you finished. Sorry. I wanted to ask Gregory, we've talked so far, we talked about our decisions resulting in our destiny. Our destiny lies in our hands.
yes.
And we mentioned about the laws of creation or laws of nature, having an impact there. Now, I want to look at, because some people believe or have some thinking belief, you can say, that, the fate can be predestined or preordained by God. And so what you have been saying so far, it doesn't align with what those such people believing that predestined or preordained. So can you just confirm that, is there any destiny that is preordained or preordained, or you know, and especially with there's a
What
true God?
what many a person refer to as preordained are only the laws of nature, of creation, through which all came into existence. These laws have been preordained. That means they order all that exists in creation, in nature. At the same time, it is through these laws that the human personality was also granted the free will to make decisions, to make choices. So, what had been pre-ordered, what had been preordained, if one may put it that way, are the laws of creation. Number one, the laws of creation. And number two, the power that activates these laws. These two have been preordained. The human spirit is only a personality, or is only a product or an entity which has been granted the free will. That free will, one may say, is preordained. How they then make use of this free will is in their own hands.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And I want to continue exploring further now. As we know, Gregory, the COVID-19 virus, let's say the more recent pandemic that we are aware of, it seemed to, well, maybe it's not the right way to put it, come out of the blue. Let's say it came about, let's say, and we know it spread very fast, in the whole world. Now, what I'm asking about this now, Gregory, just to again explore, is everything happening through human activity, interacting with the laws of nature, or is there another factor involved? So what I'm asking basically, this COVID-19, you could say the origin of COVID-19, is it only human beings are the cause of the, its beginnings and spread, or are there any other factors involved in that?
When such a question comes up, one should ask oneself, the COVID-19, does it affect plants? Does it affect stones? Does it affect animals? If it does, has it been there with the animals? How come it then leapt from one species to another? Man must have opened the opportunity, or man, through his or her decisions, must have precipitated a condition to allow these type of germs to affect his immediate environment. For if that were not the case, then it would not happen. There have been other maladies which many a doctor has found a solution to. So one should not consider that all nature throws this at man, and man has no alternative. Each individual must check, or as a nation, what they themselves have resolved to do that precipitated some of these responses, which now affect the whole world. It affects the whole world because the earth is more like a global village, whereas in the past, travel was not that frequent, and you could not go from one continent to another just like that. So, but as long as there is movement by personalities who are able to carry these gems from one place to the other, then that becomes a vector. So one should look at what is happening and how some of these illnesses, which could be with the animals, without affecting them adversely, now has struck man because he himself or herself has provided the roots for that to happen.
Thank you again, Gregory, for this answer. I'm going here, there, and everywhere with my questions because there's so many, you could say, facets in our discussion about our destiny lies in our hands. So another one, Gregory, I want to talk about is on this earth, Gregory, we have good and you could say evil people, and and each one of us has the free will, as you've said already. So, you said our destiny is based on our decisions. Now, what I want to ask on this one now, Gregory, you could say, I know this is very generalistic, but let's say there are some good people, and they may not be a person who's 100% good, but let's say overall they are like that. And then, I can give an example like this, Gregory. People burgle houses, thieves burgle houses, and you might be a person who's a good person, but then somehow you can suffer a burglary, and that's just a mild case I'm looking at there. But what I'm basically pointing to, Gregory, the good and the evil can mix, even if the good person is not doing anything evil. So my question on that, Gregory, is: can innocent people suffer in this world?
Again, thanks for this type of question. One is speaking about innocent people in accordance with one's opinion. When one refers to a good person or an innocent person or a bad person, that designation holds only in accordance with the laws of nature, of creation, through which that personality came into existence. That only is the framework. Therefore, when one observes certain things and draws conclusion, that conclusion may be very false. However, one should also know that those people we classify as good, or those people we categorize as good or as not good, they themselves must, along the line, develop some measure of vigilance, some measure of alertness in their activity. So there is this spiritual vigilance There is also the vigilance in one's thoughts and vigilance earthwise, one's physical activities. Also, there must be the alertness. Only when the human personality develops these on these three different levels would one say personally is on the alert. In that particular scenario, through their intuition, before some things take on the physical form where they are injured, they themselves would have perceived one way or the other and make changes. This is also part of vigilance and part of alertness. So, like it is said many a time in the UK, he or she who dares wins. So the human personality must be daring in alertness and in vigilance. And many a thing which would have brought it down will not. For instance, that personality who struggles to ensure he or she is physically fit through vigorous activities will not be easily brought down as compared to another who is not that alert or vigilant.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. I was just wondering, we're talking about destiny here. So, although we haven't mentioned at this point, we mentioned before earlier about karma as well. And we know there are previous lives, and can be future lives, of course, with reincarnation, as we know. So, and karma is, as you said before, normally people think of karma in a negative way that, oh, I did something bad and now I'm suffering the karma from that bad, something from what I did bad. And now, knowing about previous lives, Gregory, we could be having consequences of our decisions and actions from our previous lives. So what I was wondering, when somebody might be burgled or attacked, who on the surface looks like is a good person, as you already pointed out, the word good person definition, we need to be careful on that, because how do we know that? But let's just go with that the life they're living currently, because you did say it's about current things, the decision currently, they are living in a good way. Nobody's perfect, but we say they are doing that, and then something bad happened to them. Could it be, Gregory, that this is just a payment of the karma, if some bad thing does happen, because it can be a good thing as well, it's coming from the past decisions and actions?
No, that would be wrong to have that view.
Right.
Because that which the human personality has sown in the past, if, however, he or she does not push himself or herself to self-ennoblement, such that when these responses come, if he or she has not changed internally, then it means he or she still resonates with that which he or she has sown in the past. And it is that resonance that makes those ignoble returns have an impact on the personality, depending on the measure of change he or she has acquired for itself. If it has so improved itself, such ignoble activities, when they return, they do not have an impact on him or her. Don't forget the returns of these activities. They could be ignoble and they could be noble. If they are ignoble and the present personality has achieved a measure of nobility through his activities, then there will be no resonance. If, however, the returns are of noble activities, and this particular personality is also of noble activity, then it will enhance the personality in his strivings. So one should not always consider that the returns are ignoble. The returns may also be noble. One thing which sometimes sounds funny, all the while, the human personality enjoys from childhood good physical health. All that while it never considered it was his karma that caused good physical health. The human personality was able to go to school, was able to learn and interact with others. It never considers it was the returns that also enhanced all this. The human personality was granted the opportunity to return to the earth, to participate in activity, to cleanse itself so that it becomes vigilant in all its activity. That was not even considered as karma. Only when that which is ignoble, which it had initiated in creation, only that when that touches him, does he now turn back and say, oh, it is my karma. It is the arrogance and the non-appreciative nature of the human spirit to ignore all that's been granted to it to enable it to become self-conscious in ignoring all this and only cherry picking that which is ignoble. Whatever it is that has accosted him or her, the human personality, through vigilance and alertness, through humility, through compassion, which compassion must also come into existence because some of these ignoble activities force the human personality to open up in modesty, in diligence, in courage and selflessness, and also in skill. All that has accosted it, unless it has the inner view to look at things from a different perspective, then that will hold it down. So it is the inner perspective, how it responds to these challenges, that counts.
Thank you so much again, Gregory, for this picture you've given now. I just want to let listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrusheen. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grailmessage.com. Grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. Our destiny lies in our hand. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And also, we are broadcasting on blessradio1.com. That's the number one, blessradio, the number one.com. You can listen to us again. We have two other places you can listen to us also, which is youtube.com. Type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which is our destiny lies in our hands. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number one. Now, Gregory, I have a message or text from a listener. I'm just trying to read it before I go forward. It's quite long. I think I'm going to come back to it probably a bit later, so I won't take it in right now. Gregory, I want to continue with our exploration, about our destiny lying in our hands. Now, what about an accident? I want to understand that. Is that something in our hands? Because the word accident already says it's something not deliberate, So
one mentioned in the example we gave that the person who intends to travel to Europe has made a decision. And whilst in the air, the French people in charge of the airport decide to go on strike without letting many people know. What one call that an accident? An accident is a happening which crosses your path. That happening could be as part of a reciprocal activity in the past, or it may not be a reciprocal activity, but an activity to ginger you to wake up and become more vigilant and to be in the alert. So some of these things that do happen, which we call accidents, these are happenings which we come across in the path we have chosen to take. The person who decided to drive, the type of challenges it's going to meet along the path is different from him or her who decided to fly. So these challenges which we come across sort of ginger us or strike us in such a way as to awaken something deep within us. Like has been said, depending on our inner preparedness in ennobling ourselves, that which could have been of terror to us may not even happen that way. It is quite remarkable that one may play the lottery without even giving it a thought. And when one wins the lottery, the personality doesn't say, oh, it is an accident. The question is, why is it you who has won the lottery? Why is it you now and not some other person? So the path which the human personality has decided or has chosen, that is the path which is the determiner.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Actually, I was going to talk about luck as well as another question, but in your answer, you sort of talked about it already, so I won't go there. Now, you've mentioned already about the laws of nature or laws of creation, which are, of course, always interacting with our decisions. Now, this may not sound strange question, but I'll just say it anyways. Are these laws, are they fair, just, and loving? Yes, if you can say that, explain that, Gregory. Yes.
These laws, which are operational in nature, in creation, these laws help in the build-up in accordance with the volition of him that permitted creation to come into existence. It is through these laws that if one restricts oneself to the world of matter or to the earth, it is through these laws that the human personality is able to function. It is through these laws that all that is noble is granted to the human personality. So, what the laws do is that it makes it possible for the human personality to experience in such a way as to start as an unconscious spirit personality or an unconscious spirit gem, and subsequently develop through the stage of consciousness of the environment, and subsequently it becomes self-conscious.
Thank you, Gregory. I missed the last bit. Can you say the last bit you said there?
The environment necessary for that to be reality are realized. Therefore, one may say, or one can categorically say, that these laws swing unconditionally in the will of the Almighty. To ask if these laws are just That means one is talking about justice. Justice demands whatever a man or woman has put into creation, that is what he or she will reap. Therefore, they are just, they are kind, and they are noble.
Thank you so much again, Gregory, for this answer and picture. Now, I want to look at another aspect. How does forgiveness work? What I mean by that is it in our hands or someone else's hands? So, as we know, Gregory, we make decisions, you've said that, and then we have the consequences of the decisions happening. And let's say in some decision we have harmed someone, and then we realize that. But it's like, Gregory, the thing is, when you have taken an action, the consequence of the action, you can't stop it. It's all, you see, as you could say, what Jesus said also, what you sow you shall reap. So now you've sown it, and the reaping will happen. And now this is talking between human beings now. So a decision was made, an action was done, and it was resulting in a harm to another human being. And then you realize the person who did the harm realized, oh, that's not what he would like. He realized either, let's say that wasn't his intention, maybe in this case, and then he's looking for forgiveness. So now, Gregory, if that person who committed the harm asks for forgiveness to the person he harmed, and the person doesn't forgive, how does that work? Hello?
When the word forgiveness is used, one must look at it through one's decision. One had precipitated that which is harmful. Through one's decision, one can also precipitate that which is unharmful and that which is noble. When one precipitates that which is harmful, the environment around him or her, depending on the seriousness of what he or she has initiated, whether it be through one's intuition or through one's thought or through one's physical activities, depending on the seriousness, that person's environment is formed accordingly. If, however, subsequently, that person strives for that which is good in accordance with the will or with the laws of creation, then his environment becomes permeated with that which is good. And that being the case, it means the intuitive environment, the thought environment, and the gross material environment, which he is now engaged in, will be ennobled accordingly. Unlike had been discussed in the past, when that which is ignoble arrives or returns, because his now environment has been ennobled, you find it's unable to resonate. That lack of resonance only means there had been forgiveness along the line. It doesn't mean that it must be particularly the person whom you yourself offended that we have to say, I forgive you. That is not how the laws of creation works. For the human personality, in striving to purify itself and considers the whole of mankind, realizing it is one for all and all for one, direct his intuition along that line, direct his thoughts along that line, direct his physical activities along that line. Those are able to purify the human personality. And in that purification lies the forgiveness which is talked about.
Thank you again, Gregory, for this picture and answer. Now, Gregory, we say one man's food is another man's poison, although, of course, not every case, but let's say that's just an expression that people use. People are different, you can say. Why I'm bringing that one up, Gregory, is that, what in regards to the sin, when people sin. Now, what I'm saying is here, Gregory, two people, like I just mentioned in the previous question about one person's, let's say, sinning or harming another one. But in that case, let's say both sides agreed what is the meaning of sin or what is the harm. But some may be, Gregory, not aware if they are sinning, or they don't even think it is a sin. So my question on that, Gregory, is how do we know what is a sin?
Like one has mentioned, that which is a sin is considered only in accordance with the laws of creation, not in accordance with our conventional rules. Most of the time, it is the convention that has been placed in society that says this is a sin, this is not a sin. But one key thing which many refer to, that which you do not want to be done to you, that which you don't want to be done to you because it will not bring you benefits, you yourself will not try to do it to others. Above all, Christ already has made it very clear to love thy neighbor as thyself. In striving to respect your neighbor, to support your neighbor, as we have already spoken many a time, one for all and all for one, having that inner attitude to support your neighbor doesn't mean it has to be 10 feet away from you. Your neighbor could be living as far as Japan or the US or Canada. It's immaterial, because in the world of thoughts, these thoughts travel very fast, or in one's intuition. In striving to give purity to one's activities, in that scenario, one ensures that one's neighbor is respected. Then, in that particular scenario, the expression which is used, which is sin, is taken care of. For such things will vanish when you support your neighbor. In that scenario, do you do that which will bring down your neighbor? You only do that which will help your neighbor to grow and thrive. And in doing that, you are indirectly helping yourself. If the human personality keeps holding on to their individual thoughts of sin and not sin, then they will not be in the position to perceive intuitively what a sin is. A sin which is more of the violation of the laws of creation, through which the human personality came into existence. By not considering how to care for your neighbor, that in itself is a sin.
Thank you again, Gregory, for these answers and the clarification you're giving and the picture you're painting in all these questions. Let's say today what I've been doing is, yes, we're talking about our destiny lies in our hands, that's the topic, but we are also exploring the things around this topic, which are all part of the picture. So I think it's all very necessary to have that in our discussion. Now, I want to look at Gregory. We've talked about, again, we have this framework, which is we human beings with our free will. We have the laws of nature or creation in which we interact with and work with. And so I'm thinking, Gregory, we have our dreams, either from childhood or, well, whenever, it doesn't really matter. And then what I'm wondering, Gregory, you say our destiny lies in our hands. Does this mean, Gregory, whatever dream that we have, we can achieve it? That's what I'd like to ask.
One must be realistic. When the expression dreams or dream is used, what does it really mean? Other than there is a volition, which volition we will like to actualize. If that volition is to ennoble the individual in accordance with the laws of nature or the laws of creation, then one is granted the strength, is granted the power which streams through creation to realize it. If, however, the volition which we refer to as a dream is not in accordance with the laws of creation, then only a weakened effect, that means the power which we need to use to actualize it, is so weakened. Although this power is neutral, it is not as effective as that which resonates with the laws of creation. So what many refer to as dreams are only innate volition which they wish to actualize. How that will come into effect depends on how the human personality has prepared itself to the challenges, which challenges it may not yet know along the line. However, if it has always been vigilant and is also alert and is also humble in its approach to the realization of a dream, or that is the realization of a volition, then using the virtues, which virtues have been creation, the path to the realization of this noble dream will come to fruition before too long.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I've got more to ask on that question to explore more. But before I do that, I just want to tell listeners you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is our destiny lies in our hands. Our destiny lies in our hands. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day. Again, go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Our Destiny Lies in Our Hands. And of course, you can listen to our other shows, the previous shows as well, again, going to youtube.com. Now, and the third way you can listen to us is by going to Zeno, which is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, I was talking about dreams and achieving our dreams, and are we capable of achieving our dreams? And you know, you hear it a lot, let's say, watching in sports, and especially, let's say, Olympics or some big competitions where the winners are interviewed and or people who win the medals are interviewed, and they said, oh, how did you do that? And, you know, and of course they talk about dedication, being determined, focus, patience, perseverance, and you'll get there. Just follow your dream. You know, people are inspired watching these sports, and you know, the young people especially, and then you see a big take up there. And but Gregory, I wanted to be more specific about it now. So because, you know, you mentioned we can never forget that everything we do works within the laws of nature or creation. So, and with our free will, we can go, you know, choose this, that, you know, whatever we want to choose. However, I'm wondering, Gregory, when people are, you could say, inspired into a dream or something like that, should this dream be, how can I say, only spiritual, or can they be earthly? Let me ask that first. So, Gregory, should be, you know, because we can be inspired by so many different things. Should we, Gregory, when we proceed in these matters, um, be pick when we have a dream that we are inspired by? Should we sort of check first, or is this something spiritual or is it earthly? Are we meant to sort of choose between the two there, or can we do both?
The question, though the answer lies in the question, what one is referring to as a dream is only a volition. And the question is, should that volition be spiritual or should it be earthly? There are volitions which are highly spiritual. Those volitions which are spiritual focus on the virtues, which virtues have been hewn into creation, such that the radiations of these virtues will strengthen the individual that is striving after that which is of spirit. There are also volitions or dreams which one may refer to as ignoble. Those dreams of cheating, of gluttony, of lust, of pride and greed, of envy. Some of these, they are very earthly. For instance, gluttony. There are some people whose dream or whose volition is to eat until they can eat no more, or to drink, or they can drink no more. That is easily found in the institutions, in the educational institutions. These are real, and therefore they have to be considered. The key here is with one's dreams or with one's volition, where does it lead you to? If those dreams lead you to things like greed, like envy, then before long one will then realize that this is more like enslavement, because one is now tied to things like lust, gluttony, or slothfulness. Slothfulness in the sense there are many whose longing or dreams is to retire and do nothing subsequently in their lives, in which the body becomes so slothful. In that case, there are many who either accumulate so much material money or even steal in order to realize it. So that then leads to how is the dream or how is the volition realized? If the volition is realized in accordance with the laws of creation that permits of the virtues to come in place, then such a dream or such a virtue or such a volition is noble. If not, it becomes ignoble.
Thank you, Gregory, for this answer. Actually, in my mind, when I was thinking of this question, was only the noble things rather than the any ignoble things, because normally when people are inspired by something, I mean, yes, somebody could watch a news story and there's a killing and murder, and then maybe some, if I can say, perverted mind might be inspired by that to kill. That can happen, of course. No doubt, because that's what free will is. It allows you to go whichever way you wish to go. But normally, most people, when they're inspired, is something you could say uplifting or noble. Uh, so, so my question, really, what I was relating to there was, because I was asking about earthly and spiritual goals. Whether we should be focusing only on the spiritual or only on the earthly. But I know you've answered it actually, because it's not, we are living on the earth, so of course we will have earthly goals, and of course we can still have spiritual goals as well. So, in a way, just one has to just sense with our intuition, as we have said many times, what is, right, what is appropriate. Now, Gregory, we are surrounded, we never live on our own. We have people around us, family, friends, colleagues. And what I was wondering, Gregory, we said already about having dreams and being inspired by others. So when, Gregory, we make decisions, should we take advice from others, or is just rely on our own ability and our own thing, just rely on our own, or should we take advice when we make our decisions?
When one asks for advice, one is only trying to augment the bits one has, such that he or she is able to make a decision based on a broad framework rather than from a narrow framework. So you wish to hear from others. But in the final analysis, it is the individual that makes the decision. For the individual is able to sense through what has been presented to it that which will be of benefit to itself or not of benefit. If it listens or if it's able to perceive through his or her intuitions, that perception is enhanced by the advice which resonates with that particular intuition. And with that, one already has ready-made examples of how one should proceed. So yes, it is helpful to be able to ask, for only when the human spirit acts, only then will it be given. But to ask only means to use one's intuitions to make a decision. So whatever decision that one needs to make, and one is asking, one can also be asking others who are not in the flesh. This is possible when one is in a quandary, where in some cases people open themselves to the streams of advice, of power in creation. And also, there are those maybe around it and is able to perceive through these people that which will be beneficial to it. For only that which is of benefit to the individual in accordance with the laws of creation, only that is right for that particular individual.
Thank you again, Gregory, for this answer. Um, Now I'm thinking, Gregory, let's say there are promises that the God, the Creator, has made to mankind that certain things will be happening in the future, let's say. And for example, it is said there will be a kingdom of God on the earth. Um, and what I'm wondering, Gregory, we say our destiny lies in our hands now, and we have our free will, as we know. So if humanity decides not to cooperate with God's will, does that mean God has to intervene to enforce his promise? Let's say in this case, I'm talking of the kingdom of God on the earth to come. And, if mankind decides not to cooperate for whatever reason, and does it mean that God can still enforce or that his promise is fulfilled about, in this case, I'm talking about the kingdom of God on earth?
That never happens. What only happens is that through his or her free will, that particular personality eliminates himself or herself from the possibility of experiencing that kingdom which has been promised. Because it lies in the free will of man to make decisions. Because when one has creation coming into being, creation or the world of matter coming into existence, man was not asked of his opinion. And therefore, when it is said, the kingdom of the Lord shall be on earth, yes, before it takes place ethereally and then it manifests here on earth. But those who will experience such on earth are only those who, through their activities, have purified themselves to such an extent that they are able to partake of the activities. They still have their free will. And as long as the human personality has his free will, he or she is free to decide. However, the consequences of his or her decisions are irrevocable. So, through their decisions, they make themselves incapable of partaking of that which has been promised. It may likely happen that not purifying themselves enough to partake of that grace, they themselves have ceased to exist.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory. I just noted, actually, a listener sent a question a little while ago, a couple of questions actually, and I would like to put them forward to you now, Gregory. So this listener is asking, how do spirit guides, angels, mercy, grace, spiritual darkness, spiritual gravity, the environment, and ignorance of key knowledge play into the nature of any returns delivered or received? There's another part of the question, but I want to repeat this one again, Gregory, because it's quite a lot been said in here. So the listener is asking, how do spirit guides, angels, mercy, grace, spiritual darkness, spiritual gravity, the environment, and ignorance of key knowledge play into the nature of any returns delivered or received?
Very simple. One should understand that in nature, there are the laws of nature, or in creation, there are the laws of creation. The returns which one had just mentioned in the question, that return is only the manifestation of the law of spiritual returns. That means of reciprocal activity. Within the reciprocal activity, there is also the attraction of homogeneity. In the attraction of homogeneity lies what one may refer to as resonance. So that will resonate with the individual if he or she has purified himself or not purified himself, such that these returns, if they are ignoble, they will strike the human personality in such a way that he or she has to experience it in full. If, however, they are noble, then they will resonate with the human personality and he or she will rise in accordance with spiritual gravitation. So one only needs to take one at a time and view it and see all those that can cause perturbations. By perturbations, those that can influence the happening. These happenings before, or these returns before they touch or they have an impact on the individual. If the so-called spirit guides, who also respect the free will of the human personalities, if they radiate of their kindness that is imbued in the virtues, if the human personality is unable to resonate because the environment around it has been so darkened, then the fault is not from the spirit guide, is not from the so-called angels, is not from all those who wish him or her well. The fault becomes personal. If, however, he or she resonates with the so-called dark forces, then because he resonates, is able to draw the effects, the radiations of that which is dark, which also nestles in the ethereal. However, this human personality must strive to purify itself in accordance with the laws and leave that which is dark aside. It should strive through perseverance, through humility, through kindness. For it has been stressed before, one for all and all for one. The human personality came into existence it came into existence as an unconscious spirit germ in order to experience and return as a self-conscious personality. The goal of the human personality, the goal of the human, of the spirit gem, the human spirit gem, is to return back to its origin in paradise as a self-conscious personality able to partake of the activities consciously, joyfully. If subsequently it has not purified itself to such an extent that it's able to do that, it will still return back to paradise, but as an unconscious spirit gem. It means the efforts it has made, that it set out years, millions of years ago, and what had been placed to enable it to become self-conscious, all this were done in vain. And that is why the time is right for the human personality to awake to its responsibilities. The prime responsibility of awakening to that which is noble in accordance with the laws of creation. Hence the work, like that which we have, the work in the light of truth, which presents the light of the light, which shows the path of the truth, which is the path. That is what the human personality needs here and hereafter.
Thank you, Gregory. And I apologize to that listener that we left it a bit late to answer this question. There is a second part to the question, but I think we've come to the end of the show, so we won't be able to talk about it now. My own response to this question is because I'll just repeat it, Gregory, for everybody, and then I'm going to say my little piece on it. How do spirit guides, angels, mercy, grace, spiritual darkness, spiritual gravity, the environment, and ignorance of the key knowledge play into the nature of any returns delivered or received? My simple way to answer that is basically, it's like you get what you deserve, what you put out, what you get back. And if you're ignorant, well, what can you expect? It's like you're going in the dark, playing with, chance. You could say you go left, you go right, you have no idea what you're doing. So what can you expect from that? You'll be lost. And if you have some sensing, really the proper word to say is intuitive sensing, then you yourself will be able to connect with the laws, with this creation, whether it's darkness, whether it's guides, whether it's angels. You yourself will be able to draw, according to your volition, your free will, again, like I say, what you deserve. So the help is only you just need to know there's a system which works in love, justice, and harmony. If we apply it correctly, that's what it is. That's what the laws are. That's what creation is. If you can use your intuition aright, then the help will be there. If not, then you will be getting lost. So I think that's it. The second part I won't deal with it because we don't really have time for that. Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing the listeners a beautiful week.
Thank you. Listeners, just as you know, if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grailmessage.com. Grail, Grail, message, Message. And thank you for listening to us on this topic of our destiny lies in our hands. Now, just to let you know, next week we will not be doing our live show. We actually want to be able to present it. We won't be available, so there possibly will be a recording that will be played. So hope you can listen into that. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do a new topic for next week. But we'll be back the week after. So we look forward to you joining us at that point. And I wish everybody